hockey fan, then you are in the right place because this is another edition of On the Bench with Columbus Wire TV. I'm Ashleigh Ignelzi. He's Justin Boggs. He's Dave Seaman. And guys, we got a lot of hockey to break down today, so let's get to it. 2 big wins at home against the Edmonton Oilers and the Minnesota Wild. But on the road, the Blue Jackets just could not get the job done. They had an overtime loss to Nashville and a big 6-3 loss in New Jersey to the Devils. Any of those games really kind of stand out to you guys or bring us to where we are right now, which is we're here in Nationwide Arena. They're playing the Chicago Blackhawks, and it's a 6-1 Blue Jackets lead right now. The game's not over. You know, any thoughts on, that was a lot of hockey, but any thoughts on any of those games?
But you know, it's crazy how you can give up 6 goals one night and score 6 the next, and they still got 20 minutes to play. You know, I just think that as far as New Jersey is concerned, you're playing against the best goaltender arguably ever. You know, you throw Patrick Law in there, and you've got the top 2 ever. So you score 3 goals against him, you'd hope you'd win. But the big thing that's been the Blue Jackets' Achilles heel lately has been the power play.
Right.
0 for 22 in their last 22 attempts. That's obviously an issue.
Right.
Go back a game prior to that, to the Nashville game. Coach Claude Noel said it was probably their best game of the year, and I have to agree. You play the Nashville Predators to a 0-0 tie. Going into overtime, 1 breakdown on the blue line, and that's the difference.
Yeah. Justin, any of your thoughts?
Well, I agree with that. You know, the 2 games that they won here were very winnable games. Games they should, especially Edmonton. Edmonton's the worst team in the NHL this year. They had to win that one. They played very well, played a good road game in Nashville. You know, didn't make too many mistakes. You know, Nashville did score a goal in overtime, but that's how you want to play on the road, is not making too many mistakes. New Jersey, you know, they played 1 good period. They had a good, solid first period, but mistake after mistake in that second period really cost them in that game.
Right.
And you cannot give up 3 power play goals in a game, especially when your power play's not scoring.
Right.
They had a 5-on-3 for 1:25, nothing.
Yeah.
And again, you're playing against a pretty darn good defense and a pretty darn goaltender in Martin Brodeur.
Yeah. Well, it is obvious the Blue Jackets' playoff hopes have been cut short. But do you guys think we could maybe put a dent in some other teams' playoff hopes, considering the fact, especially, we have 3 games against Detroit at the very end of the season?
Well, and that's the problem.
Right.
At the very end of the season, Detroit's probably going to have the 8th seed locked up.
Yeah.
So are you going to cause a dent? No. And quite honestly, we played Detroit 2 of our last 3 games. 1 there, the last game is here. That last game, they're going to be resting guys.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be looking at probably a 7 or 8 seed, having to play San Jose or the Chicago Blackhawks team in the first round. You're not denting. You're not going to dent anybody's playoff hopes at this point. The only thing that tonight's game, you know, hopefully it's going to turn out to be a win against the Blackhawks, keeps us mathematically alive for another day. But if the Blue Jackets were to lose tonight, they're done.
Yeah, if that happens, that will be something else. All right, Justin, what are your thoughts? Dent in any playoff hopes?
Well, you know, when you look at Detroit, Detroit's starting to gain some separation between them and Calgary. They are 4 points up as of now, and, you know, they're playing very good hockey here lately. So, as Mike Babcock said last year when they came to Columbus, Columbus did pretty well against the Red Wings in, you know, their regular season. They went 3-3 against each other. But when it came to shove in the playoffs, we know who was a better team. Mike Babcock said this team just turns it on when it matters. And right now, this is their playoffs. They need to keep winning, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. All right, well, in some other CBJ news, on March 25th, the team decided to move the Syracuse Crunch to Springfield, Massachusetts. And guys, what does this mean for the franchise?
You know, it's really a lateral move. I mean, you know, you've been with the Syracuse Crunch for 10 years, and there were some philosophical differences, and Justin will touch more about that. He saw the Crunch play a couple weeks ago. This just moves the AHL franchise to Springfield, Massachusetts, which is a hop, skip, and a jump from Boston. So it makes things a little bit easier to get guys up and down quicker.
Right.
But I think the long-term effect of this is that the Blue Jackets are looking to eventually move their AHL franchise to Cleveland, who they currently have an affiliate, I believe, with Colorado, and that affiliation ends in 2 years. So the Blue Jackets signed a 1-year affiliation with a option for a second year. So you're possibly looking at 2 years for the Blue Jackets AHL affiliation to move to Cleveland, which would be a great thing.
Yeah. Now, Justin, you have covered the Syracuse Crunch before. What are your thoughts on this transition?
Well, when he mentions Cleveland, that's not the only town in Ohio I would throw out there. I'd throw out Cincinnati, who has an E-League team as well, and Dayton, who just lost their E-League team. They have a very nice arena, the Nutter Center, which they could play. Dave Seaman is a Wright State grad, and he knows the Nutter Center very well. Home of the Wright State Raiders out there. So, but, you know, those are two other possibilities. When I went to Cleveland to see the Crunch play against the Monsters, the following the Crunch had, or the Blue Jackets had, was very, very small. Only a few folks from Columbus or from the area made it. Now, obviously, you want to build a following in Cleveland, much like in Columbus. A lot of folks follow the Cavs and follow the Indians and the Browns. They would like to see that reciprocated back here to Columbus for the Blue Jackets. Right now, it's definitely not happening, but you know, maybe if they look at Cleveland, Cincinnati is another one, have the arena on the river there. That might be another possibility. As also Dave said, it is a lateral move. Everyone sort of saw this coming. The Crunch was very frustrated with some of the moves the Blue Jackets made, most notably last year when Nikita Filatov was not allowed to finish the season with the Crunch. A lot of folks up there were pretty upset about that. You know, he was just sent here to watch the playoffs. He could have been involved in a playoff race there in Syracuse. He wasn't allowed to. They didn't want to give him that experience. The Crunch folks were understandably upset by that.
Well, now I just got word of this today, and you guys obviously will know a little bit more on this, being our Blue Jackets insiders. A financial situation with the Blue Jackets. What do you know about this, Dave?
Well, the Blue Jackets were awarded $10 million in revenue sharing. Basically, there's two categories you look at. Has your revenue increased from the previous year, which the Blue Jackets have? Obviously, the playoffs helped with that last year. And then also, did you maintain an average attendance of 14,000? This year, the Blue Jackets are averaging over 15,000. Their attendance is actually up this year. With as bad as they've played, you know, they've had some good home games. But you know, when you look at the fact that we've had Pittsburgh at home, we've had Chicago at home on holidays. You know, the Washington Capitals are coming in here next week. You've had some marquee teams come in to Nationwide Arena, and we've had home games during holidays, which has helped tremendously. We've had 5 or 6 sellouts this year, and you know, those are the little things that help with the revenue. And as a result, the NHL, basically, it's like Major League Baseball. It's like the NFL. The rich teams in the league give to the poor teams. You know, and we're in that bottom 10 as far as revenue teams. And it also, TV market has a little bit to do with it. Columbus is not in one of the top 10 media markets, which is another reason why we qualify. You know, and General Manager Scott Helson said basically that money's going back towards recruiting, scouting, and obviously player salaries.
Justin, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, and that's what it does. It's for the hockey operations side. It has nothing to do with the financial doldrums that this the arena has right now. You know, maybe some of that can go back and forth, but not. It's really not going to have an impact. This team needs to find a stable solution for that, because as we heard in the last week, the NHL did not award Columbus the All-Star game in 2013 that they had applied for. And so what that means is that the NHL said, until you get your arena situation under control, and until you get some funding for your arena, we're not going to give you the All-Star game. And so that was a major blow for Columbus and the Blue Jackets. Now, some might say that it's trying to apply some political pressure on the political leaders of the city. The NHL certainly brings in a lot more than $10 million a year to a city, with hotels and with the conventions that take place. So maybe the politicians of the city might say, well, we need to help the Blue Jackets out with this. Right now, they haven't been so helpful.
And just two things to add to that. The NHL hasn't said, no, you're not going to get the 24 All-Star game, 2014 All-Star game. What they're saying is until the arena situation is settled, we're not going to consider you. The NHL is not going to make that decision anytime soon. The other issue, you know, and we talked about this, we talked about it with Eric Smith, this arena issue is going to get settled. It's going to get settled probably this offseason. You know, with the Forward Columbus group that they've got going on, something's going to happen. You know, the mayor, he's got the Blue Jacket support. Something's going to happen sooner, and I really think that it's going to happen this year sometime.
Good things in the Blue Jackets' future, without a doubt, especially tonight. They got to get a win over the Blackhawks, right?
Hopefully. I mean, you know, I don't know. Can we blow a 5-goal lead?
Stranger things have happened. Well, if it's happening in hockey, you know it's happening here on the bench with Columbus Wired. For all of us, we will see you before you know it.